stand in front of a supermarket aisle, holding two identical jars of peanut butter, staring at an 80-cent price difference as if it were a major life decision. You recalculate your checking account balance in your head, subtracting the gas money you will need on Thursday, and the subscription fee you forgot was scheduled to charge tonight. The person behind you clears their throat and shifts their weight. A quiet, familiar heat rises up your neck. You choose the cheaper brand, put it in your basket, and walk out into the cold parking lot. You live at $10,000 a year, and every second of your day is a delicate mathematical equation where the answer is always zero. Money is not an asset or a tool. Money is oxygen, and you are constantly holding your breath. You do not think about 5-year plans, career trajectory, or passive income. Your horizon is 72 hours long. Every unexpected envelope in your mailbox makes your stomach drop before you even read the sender's name. When your phone vibrates with an unknown number, you let it ring to voicemail. Bad news always calls, and good news never calls people like you. The world feels sharp, aggressive, and unsympathetic. When you walk into a coffee shop just to use the bathroom, the cashier watches your hands. When you ask for an extension on your utility bill, the customer service line uses a tone reserved for irresponsible children. The system did not decide to be cruel to you. It simply became completely indifferent to your existence. You tell yourself that if you could just double your income, every dark cloud in your mind would evaporate forever. Level 1. $25,000 a year. You no longer hold your breath, but you are still treading water in the deep end. You buy the brand of peanut butter you actually prefer without checking the tag, and that small win feels like absolute victory for about 3 weeks. But then the new normal settles in. You now have just enough money to qualify for real credit, which means you have just enough money to get caught in a much larger trap. You get your first real credit card with a $2,000 limit. For the first 3 months, it feels like free emergency insurance. Then, your alternator dies on a Tuesday morning. You pay for the repair with the card, promising to pay it off with your next 2 paychecks. But 2 weeks later, your tooth starts throbbing, and the dentist tells you that insurance only covers half the cost of a root canal. Suddenly, you are not paying off the card. You are paying the minimum balance, while the interest silently compounds in the background. The hold music loops 3 times as you wait to talk to a representative, and you realize your entire life is now owned by small, monthly recurring obligations. You work 44 hours a week, yet your bank account looks identical on the 29th of every month. People treat you better than they did at $10,000, but only because you look slightly more productive. The waiter hands you the menu without scanning your shoes first. Your landlord replies to your texts within 4 hours instead of 3 days. Yet deep down, you realize a terrifying truth. You are working harder than ever, but you are not moving forward. You are simply running faster on a treadmill that someone else controls. You look at people making 6 figures and imagine they inhabit a completely different universe. Level 2. $60,000 a year. The acute survival panic disappears, replaced by the subtle, crushing weight of middle-class respectability. You move into an apartment with hardwood floors and a dishwasher that actually dries the dishes. You stop looking at the right side of the menu when you go out to dinner with friends. You buy a 5-year-old Japanese sedan with clean service records, and for the first time in your life, you do not feel a surge of adrenaline when a police car pulls up behind you at a red light. As the survival stress fades, a new kind of anxiety slides into its place, the terror of falling backward. You are now earning enough to have things worth losing. You spend 8 hours a day sitting in an open-plan office under flickering fluorescent lights, editing spreadsheets and responding to emails that could have been 3 words long. You smile at jokes your manager tells that are not funny. You read company-wide emails 3 times before hitting send, carefully checking your tone to sound team-oriented and reliable. You have entered the realm of golden handcuffs. The money is good enough to give you a comfortable weekend, but bad enough to keep you chained to your desk every Monday morning. When you hang out with old friends from high school, they assume you have made it because you ordered an appetizer for the table without checking the price. But when you look at your bank account, you realize that after taxes, rent, health insurance, and student loan payments, your actual wealth accumulation is almost zero. You have traded raw physical exhaustion for chronic, low-grade mental fatigue. You lie awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering if spending 40 years trading your best daylight hours for a predictable paycheck is really what human existence was meant to be. Level 3. $120,000 a year. You have officially cracked the 6-figure threshold. You expected fireworks, a sudden shift in the rotation of the earth, or at least a deep sense of permanent internal peace. Instead, you get a higher tax bracket and a subtle urge to upgrade every item you own. You move to a high-rise apartment complex with a concierge desk and a private gym in the basement. You swap your Japanese sedan for an entry-level European luxury car with leather seats that heat up in 60 seconds. You buy chef-grade knives for a kitchen you rarely have time to cook in. The world treats you with polite efficiency. The barista remembers your order. The flight attendant attendant gives you a warm towel when you board the plane in row 8. When you mention your job title at dinner parties, people lean in slightly closer and listen with a subtle nod of approval. You are no longer just a worker. You are a respected professional in the machinery of society. But then you look around at your new peer group. Your manager drives a Porsche. Your coworker just bought a vacation home in the mountains. Your college friend just posted a picture from a private yacht in southern Italy. The goalposts did not just move. They vanished into the horizon. You realize that making $120,000 in a major city simply means you are rich enough to see how the truly wealthy live, but not rich enough to join them. You spend $4,000 a month on living expenses just to maintain the image required for your career. You earn twice as much as you did 3 years ago, but your savings rate has barely changed. The rat race has not ended. It has simply been upgraded to a higher class of venue. Level 4, $250,000 a year. You are now in the top 5% of earners, and the physical friction of daily life completely disappears. You never check your bank balance before tapping your card. If your phone breaks, you walk into the glass store on the corner and buy a new one in 15 minutes without feeling a single pulse of anxiety. You hire a cleaning service to scrub your floors every Thursday morning. You pay people to wash your clothes, deliver your groceries, and assemble your furniture. You have successfully outsourced every mundane task that human beings have performed for thousands of years. Time has become your most valuable commodity, and you spend money recklessly to buy it back. The social shift at this level is profound. When you walk into a high-end restaurant, the maitre d' greets you by your last name and places you at a quiet corner table without asking if you have a reservation. Banks no longer mail you credit card offers with high interest rates. They assign you a personal relationship manager who calls to ask how your family is doing and offers pre-approved loans at wholesale interest rates. People treat your opinions on politics, art, and the economy as if they carry weight, simply because you have a $250,000 income. But a dark realization begins to poison your thoughts. You notice your income is entirely dependent on your physical presence. If you stop working for 3 months, the entire elaborate castle you built collapses overnight. You are not wealthy. You are just an extraordinarily well-paid employee. You have constructed a lifestyle that requires $250,000 a year just to keep the lights on. You are running a corporation of one, and you are terrified of the day you burn out and can no longer generate the energy required to power it. Level 5, $500,000 a year. You cross the threshold from high earner to capital investor. You no longer earn money solely through your labor. Your money has started earning its own money. You open your investment app while sitting in an airport lounge and watch your portfolio fluctuate by $5,000 in a single afternoon without feeling any emotion whatsoever. That $5,000 used to represent 6 months of painful, soul-crushing effort when you were 22. Now it is just statistical noise on a glass screen. You stop buying luxury goods with logos because you no longer feel the need to prove your status to strangers. You wear plain gray t-shirts made of high-grade cotton, simple dark trousers, and unbranded leather sneakers. The flex is no longer showing people that you have money. The flex is hiding it so completely that only people at your level recognize it. You hire a specialized accountant who uncovers tax loopholes you did not know existed, transforming government regulations from mandatory rules into negotiable suggestions. When you have a problem with a business partner, you do not argue. You send a polite email CCing your legal counsel, and the problem vanishes within 24 hours. Respect from society transitions from polite customer service into genuine deference. People defer to your schedule. They wait for you to speak in meetings. Yet, as your influence expands, your world of genuine human connections shrinks. You begin to question the motives of everyone who enters your life. Do your new friends like your sense of humor? Or do they like your network? Does your romantic partner love you for who you are at your core? Or do they love the security, prestige, and seamless comfort your bank account provides? You realize extreme financial success builds a high, invisible wall between you and the rest of humanity, and the air at the top is surprisingly cold. Level 6, $1 million a year. You have reached a level of wealth that 99.9% of the human population will only ever see on a movie screen. You no longer work for a salary. You own equity, assets, and cash-flowing entities. Money is no longer a tool for survival, comfort, or status. Money has become a high-stakes strategy game you play simply to see how high you can score before the clock runs out. You fly in private cabins where you never have to take off your shoes or stand in a security line. You stay in hotel suites where the staff places fresh flowers in your room based on a preference profile created 3 years ago. When you walk into a private wealth management firm, The managing director comes down to the lobby to shake your hand and guides you into a mahogany-paneled boardroom overlooking the skyline. You have access to private investment deals, pre-IPO shares, and tax structures reserved exclusively for accredited investors. The rules of the economic system that govern normal people no longer apply to you. When you make a mistake that costs $50,000, it is not a disaster. It is simply a learning expense that your accountant writes off at the end of the fiscal year. You possess ultimate personal freedom. You can wake up on a Tuesday morning, decide to spend the next 3 weeks in Kyoto, book the flights, and leave before sunset without asking a single human being for permission. You have conquered the material world. But then, in the quiet solitude of a 5-star hotel room overlooking a city you have no emotional connection to, the ultimate psychological paradox reveals itself. You sit on the edge of a king-sized bed wrapped in Egyptian cotton sheets, staring out at the rain hitting the glass. You realize that your happiness, your capacity for joy, your ability to love, and your internal peace have not increased by a single percentage point since you were earning $60,000 a year. The problems of survival are completely gone, but the fundamental human condition remains entirely untouched. The money changed every single variable in your external environment, but it left your internal mind completely intact. Full circle ending. You walk past a small diner on a Tuesday evening in the middle of autumn. Through the rain-streaked window, you see a young man sitting alone at a small laminate table. He is dressed in a plain red t-shirt, a worn dark jacket, and a baseball cap pulled low over his forehead. On the table sits a lukewarm cup of tap water, a cheap plate of food, and a smartphone with a cracked screen. He is staring intensely at a banking app, scrolling up and down, doing mental arithmetic on his fingers to figure out if he can afford to leave a tip for the waitress without bouncing his rent check on Friday. His face is pale, his eyes are wide with quiet exhaustion, and his shoulders are hunched under the weight of an invisible, crushing pressure. You stand on the sidewalk outside, wrapped in a coat that costs more than his entire monthly income, watching him. You have the power to walk inside, slide a stack of $100 bills across his table, and instantly erase every financial problem he will face for the next 5 years. You could change his entire reality in 3 seconds without even noticing the loss in your own bank account. But as you watch him take a slow breath, clear his throat, and put his phone back into his pocket, a profound, chilling realization hits you like a wave of cold water. The system did not change. Your tear did. The money changed everything around you, but it did not change who you are when the room goes quiet. You realize that every single level of wealth was just a different stage set for the exact same human actor. You turn away from the window, pull your collar up against the wind, and walk down the dark street into the night, realizing that the ultimate luxury was never the money at all. It was the peace of mind you thought the money would buy.